Welcome to Comics Bazaar, the channel of comics commentary and arcana. This video features the Uncanny X-Men number 238, cover dated late November 1988. And this is the final part of a four-part story featuring the X-Men's first encounter with Genoshan Magistrates and the Genoshan island state built on the slavery of native-born mutants. So this cover is by Marc Silvestri and Dan Green, and it pretty much is their version of Leonardi's cover from Uncanny X-Men 235. So we've got a book ending of 235 and 238 with the X-Men battling Genoshan Magistrates on both covers. It's a pretty cool cover there by Silvestri. Let's open this up. So the title of this story is going to be A Revolution, and the creative team is Chris Claremont, writer as always, Marc Silvestri, penciler, Dan Green, inker, Glynis Oliver, colorist, and Tom Orzechowski, letterer. So the way that this opens is it's a follow-up from Madeleine's psychic defense in the previous issue, where the technicians who were working on her to transmute her into a mutate were butchered by her, particularly when one of them tried to enter her psyche. So what we're getting here in the opening pages of this issue is a psychic transcript from the mind of the examining telepath. And we see Madelyne with a self-representation of herself as a young girl picking flowers in a meadow, and she's singing a song to herself, Gone to America, by the group Steel Eye Span. And the lead singer of Steel Eye Span is Madelyne Pryor. And in Avengers Annual number 10, there was that little scene, and you can see it in the video that I have on my channel, review of Avengers Annual 10, a little red-headed girl who says that she was sick but she's better now, and says her name is Madelyne Pryor. And so Claremont is calling back to Avengers Annual 10 here. And it's interesting what might be suggested by that. Also, the opening lyrics of Gone to America are married him in April, lost him in July. And this is appropriate for Madeleine's situation where she's still grieving the process of, or in the process of grieving Scott Summers' abandoning of her for the returned Jean Grey. So, if we continue with this episode, this psychic transcript, we see Madelyne saying, I was sick, but I got better, quoting that little girl in Avengers Annual 10, and then arguing with the psychic representation of the Engineer and the Magistrates, why do you want to hurt me? And then we see in her pupil a representation of the Phoenix Force, or so it seems. Then she is shot at by these magistrates who are versions of the psychics that are trying to get into her head, and she destroys them, but she leaves the chief engineer alive, and yet has him costumed as Mr. Sinister. So this is all hinting at what's coming up in the subsequent storyline, Inferno. And here she appears in her Goblin Queen costume as well. And when the Engineer, it's not the Engineer actually, but it's her representation of the chief telepath who's trying to burrow into her head. When he asks the question, why am I dressed like this? What do you want? She responds, the one, because it pleases me. The other, as a warning to your masters. Be careful when you strike a match, even if only to light your way through the darkness, because you never know when you'll ignite an inferno. Okay? And that marks the end of the butchery of the people in the room when they were trying to transmute her. So this is all shown on telemonitor to a group of magistrates, including Chief Magistrate Anderson, Moreau himself, the Engineer, Wipeout is there too, and they're arguing about the fact that they, the fact in particular that Moreau is worried about figuring out what's going on with this this person who they have imprisoned, and then the runaway mutants who are Wolverine and Rogue. So he goes to Madeleine's prison cell, and he debates with her, or well, first of all he questions her, who are you, what are you? And she plays with him, mutant prisoner 9818, the pilot you kidnapped, the woman you and your pet Gestapo have been happily torturing. So there's a debate between them where Madelyne says, ever wonder if your slaves share those passions? Our mutants are well cared for. They want for nothing except for freedom, she says. They're as free as they need to be, he says. So Anderson arrives and tells him not to debate with Madelyne, and basically reiterates the fact that, as she says here, if you debate with her, it gives her views a validity they do not merit. Either we are right in what we do, in which case argument is pointless, or we are wrong, in which case argument is equally pointless. We do not question the course of our lives, we remain true to it, and make whatever sacrifices are required of us. And then she tells him that they have word of his missing son, Philip. Great art here by Silvestri as well, suggesting the transformation of Madelyne into this darker, more powerful character that is being revealed and will be revealed as the Goblin Queen. So let's continue after these ads. And then the scene switches to the end of the line for the Mute train, the Highlands north of the Ridgeback Range, where Wolverine and Rogue have come together with Philip Moreau, and they're at this what turns out to be a settlement, a concentration camp for the mutates. So when the mutates are done working on the rest of the island, they're packed onto the train, and this is where they live, separated from the human populace of Genosha. So Philip Moreau is getting an education into the origins of the wealth and prosperity of his nation, and he's accompanied here by Wolverine and Rogue, who is being whose body is being controlled by the psyche of Carol Danvers. We see here cleverly too the cameras, okay, because this is going to be how Wolverine and Rogue are ultimately caught by the magistrates, because as Anderson says to Rogue, Carol Danvers, the camp surveillance camera showed the boy walking alone, yet the guard post reported him being escorted by 2 magistrates. This once mute, your innate invisibility to electronic forms of detection proved your undoing. And as Carol Danvers says, can't win them all. So they're brought back to the Citadel here, and they're once again put into these mutate uniforms. And so we're moving and coming towards a denouement for this particular storyline. So we have also a bit of dialogue here between Madelyne and Jenny Ransom, who's far along in the mutate transmutation process, but it's not finally completed. She still knows her own name, Jennifer Ransom, but she's been taken away by these magistrates for further processing. And Madelyne is determined that she'll see them all burn first before any harm is done Jenny. Then we see Philip, Wolvie, and Rogue, Carol Danvers, being brought to Moreau's office in the Citadel, but they also see that baby that featured in the very first issue, who was put aboard the flight to Australia by his father. And Wolvie determines that the parents were killed. Somehow the parents were able to get out of their mutate costumes and conceive this baby, who was born in the normal fashion. We learn. And then we have this explanation by the chief engineer to his son about the situation with the concentration camp, where he says to his son, they are mutants. The way of life you speak of, they are primarily responsible for it. Everything we possess derives from them. Philip, those few hundred souls could rule this land with very little effort. They could make us slaves. Instead, we've made them our most valuable resource to be husbanded and utilised for the good of us all. Is that so wrong? And of course, Wolverine here says, if you have to ask, bub, there's no point in answering. So then we get this great little scene here where it boils down to the fact that Philip is not prepared to stay quiet about what he saw beyond the Ridgeback Mountains, the concentration camp. And his father there begs him, I beg you consider what you say. These are state secrets. You're threatening the survival of our country. And Carol Danvers quotes the Bible, and God said unto Abraham, sacrifice unto me your only son, your beloved Isaac. Duty before blood. Is that it, old man? And Philip is shocked that his father would have him imprisoned rather than that the truth should come out about the concentration camp for the mutates. And then our scene switches to the cavalry, so to speak. It's the X-Men arriving sneakily, covered by Storm's bad weather. And here we see Havok and Ali and Longshot wearing Magistrates uniforms. So they're entering the Citadel's main gate. Then we're back to Moreau's office, and Wolverine giving his side of things, where he says, can't speak for the boy, though I'm starting to be proud to stand beside him. But I know I've been a slave, which shocks Carol. Didn't much care for it. That will change when wipeouts erased all memory of your old life. Oh yes, he does that too. And the G-Engineers established a new one. I guarantee you'll love it here. Not hardly, says Wolverine. I'll die first. And then he ducks down. But this is an interesting little element here, again, of Claremont hinting at Wolverine's mysterious past, that he's been a slave. So this is potentially a storyline that might have something to do with Weapon X, or not. But as I said, like, Carol was unaware of this part of Wolverine's history. So he ducks down there. They think he's sick. They know he's sick anyway, but he pops his claws. And at this point, he doesn't have his mutant healing factor. So this is a painful move for him to make. And then Carol swipes this magistrate's gun and starts blasting away. Then our scene switches back to the squad bay of the Citadel, where the X-Men go into action. Dazzler, Havok here using his plasma blasts, and then we have the arrival of Storm, Psylocke and Colossus busting in through the wall. And then we go back to Wolvie, Carol and Philip, and Wolvie decides that he's going to go out bravely, even though he's got no healing factor, and if these guys make connection with their guns, they'll be able to kill him. So as he says himself, his macho boast figure, since I got no choice and less prospects, I might as well go with style and lots of company. And these guys are pretty worried there in that last panel. Great little image here of Wolverine jumping into action by Silvestri. Actually, the art by Silvestri in this whole issue is excellent. And then back with the X-Men making their way again into the Citadel. And Havok in particular going after Solo, going after Madelyne, because it's been established in previous issues that Havok is a little sweet on Madelyne, who, remember, of course, is his brother's wife. And Madelyne's not in her cell, but he runs into Philip, who's looking for a Jenny. And then we catch up with Madelyne, who is in a part of the Citadel where there are these pods in which the mutant babies are, the term used in the last issue was decanted. And she says there's a resonance about this place as though it's somehow familiar, and this is hinting at what is going to be revealed about Madelyne's own origins in subsequent issues in Inferno. And this baby that she's got here is the original baby that was sent to Australia. So she's found him, but what becomes of him is another matter. Then we have this scene between Moreau and Madelyne, where Moreau is threatening to shoot the baby, and Madelyne basically says, she says, remember your telepath? If that was my reaction to a psychic death, Imagine the response to the real thing. He responds, I'm not afraid to die. And she says, then pull the trigger. And we'll find out. So before that can happen, before you can actually pull the trigger, his son interrupts him. And so Madelyne is saved, or the baby anyway, even there's the baby there, but Havok also turns up in time. And she refers to him as her lover. So again, this is interesting, the way that Claremont is, through the dialogue and through the relations of the characters, hinting, insinuating the changing nature of the relationship without spelling it out with captions. So then Philip really has turned against his father and puts the gun to him in order to make his father tell him where Jenny is. So then we're in our wind-up point where the X-Men reunite with each other. But note, Madelyne is impressed. Oh, there she is. Madeline's there with the baby. And Wolverine is pretty badly shot up and dying, in fact. But Carol has Wipeout, a gun to his head. And they use Psylocke to to psychically make Wipeout return the powers to Wolverine, so he gets his healing factor back, and then he feels great, and also back to Rogue, who gets her super strength and invulnerability and power of flight back. So then the question is what to do about the Engineer and the Magistrates, and Wolverine's suggestion is to kill them. Tear this slimeball concentration camp country of theirs down to the bare rock and build something decent from the ashes. But Philip intervenes. It's his country, and he thinks that there's a better solution, that he can tell the people what he saw and it will change their minds, and that Genosha can be made into something better than it is without destroying the place and without killing the magistrates. So Wolverine reluctantly agrees to that, but warns him, or rather says to Carol, got to give the kid credit for guts, feel sorry for him, doesn't deserve what'll happen him. Wolverine is pretty convinced that the boy is going to be destroyed by the ruling regime. And then Storm addresses everyone, the Engineer, Chief Magistrate, the Genoshans, and tells them to listen to the boy. He is one future, we are the other. And if you have any doubt about what that means, Havok the Citadel. So Havok then uses his plasma blast to blow up and destroy the Citadel. But he's worried for a second. Where's Madelyne? Haven't seen her since we left the Citadel. Oh my lord, in all the confusion, could she somehow have been inside? But she wasn't. She's there. And she kisses him. And he asks her, but where's the baby? Not to worry, that's all being taken care of, she says. But what has become of the baby? This is something that is going to be followed up in future issues. Not of X-Men, but of X-Factor, in fact. And I'll talk a little bit about that in the future. But for the moment, it seems that the first visit to Genosha is over. Psylocke tells Storm that she's going to mind wipe the Genoshans of specific memories of the X-Men, so they won't remember that the X-Men were there, but that there was a fight and they were defeated. And then Storm suggests that Philip and Jenny leave the island and work from outside, that's safer for them. And then there's a last conversation between Philip and his father, where the father begs the son, consider what you're doing, you'll destroy everything we've worked lifetimes here in Genosha to build. But Dad, if the mutants aren't free, then maybe what you've built isn't worth saving. And Wolverine says, remember what Storm said, Engineer, and pray your boy succeeds, because if you don't, you'll have to deal with us, and then, bub, there'll be blood. So that's the end of the 4-part Genoshan saga, this introduction to the X-Men mythos and the Marvel Universe of this slave state in which native mutants are put through this process, this mutate process, and used for the prosperity of the island of 10 million people. This type of apartheid state as well, with the mutates living in that concentration camp settlement. And it really kind of builds on storylines like Days of Future Past, God Loves, Man Kills, and the whole prejudice, bigotry metaphor that Claremont plays around with sometimes in the X-Books. But this is one of the best and most successful treatments of it, and shows that Claremont at this point of writing the X-Men for almost 15 years around this time was not done with fresh ideas and fresh contributions to the mythos. So I hope that you enjoyed this video review of X-Men 238. If you did, please like the video. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more content like this.